people had to ask me, like, how would I define the golf swing into one sentence, I would say, let's talk about one of the most important things, and anybody who's followed Porzak Golf knows what's coming. There's a move that guys on the PGA all do. They do. Most of them do this. Guys, sometimes you see Ludwig actually physically go, boom, and bump the hips over. Other people like Tiger Woods just set right up into it, and I have tons of videos to prove that this is a setup that doesn't, you know, it's something that we preach, that we've identified, that we've actually really, it's kind of almost a trademark of Porzak Golf called the hip bump, but it does unlock your turn. It sets up the ability to make a bigger turn. It sets up the ability also to have the weight transfer or shift in the most efficient manner to where you're not forcing yourself to move from side to side. I'm identifying pressure points right away in my feet, in my setup, to where, okay, I'm not trying to find those pressure points in my swing. I've identified them, and I'm building more pressure into the spots where pressure already exists when I make my turn. So understand this. Your spine, this is so important to understand, okay? I really need you guys to check in on this one. Your spine is perpendicular with your belt line. Let's just call it your pelvis right here, okay? We talked about how the reverse pivot is when this hip drops. See how my spine and my upper body goes forward to my front foot. That weight loads there. Not good. Where's it going to go in the backswing? To the back foot. The ideal backswing, okay, is me setting up in a way to where now my spine is set to where if I keep my head still and just turn, do you see how my chest completely gets over the inside of my back foot there? This is the learn the turn drill right here. This is the best thing you guys can do. If I don't have my hip bump, if this hip right here is over this part of my foot or the outside, watch this. I'm stuck. Watch this now, ready? Bump. Opens up that ability to turn. Now, let's talk about how to do that, okay? There's two main factors to this that will allow you to do it right. One, my dad gets on everybody about, because typically what happens when they bump their hip, they move everything together. That's not what you want. You want to keep, I'm looking right at Kev here, right into the camera. I'm leaving my sternum dead still, and I'm shifting my hips while leaving my sternum still. That's what gives me those few degrees of spine angle that I need. Guys, they call it the reverse K. For right-handed golfers, it's the reverse K. Why? Look at this, ready? It looks like a backwards K. For the lefties, it looks like a K, okay? And the checkpoint there is to have the outside of your trail hip on the inside of your trail foot. Not here, not here. You want this knee and this hip right here on the inside of your trail foot. When it's on the inside, that's what allows you to make that big turn and unlocks the lower body's ability to turn. Hold that club right from the outside of the hip straight down. You know what you're gonna feel? You're gonna feel like there are door stops underneath the outside of your foot that's building pressure on the inside of the foot. What is that like? Being on a running block, being on a pitcher's mound. You're not gonna be on the outside, you're gonna be on the inside. And what's cool is, I'm just applying pressure in my setup to where I'm going to build pressure as I turn. I've already identified my pressure points. Okay. The next part is, when you do it, you leave your hips square to the target. You don't open them up or close them off, which a lot of people do when they do that, okay? That's why it's sometimes like, we're gonna figure out for you, Adam, what you're doing there is good. You're like, actually, and here's the thing, guys, I'll tell you, the tendency is to wanna open, this is closed. I'm like closing the door to the target, I'm opening the door to the target. The tendency is to wanna go like this. Like, guys, this is to promote your rotation and turn, not negate it, okay? So watch, when I do this, I actually take my trail hip, my right hip for most of you, and I'm pushing it back at like a 45-degree angle this way to basically pop my lead femur more over my left leg. I'm creating a post here, you guys. I'm creating a brace here. Hogan had the famous image of the brace being created, and when he turned to the top, he didn't lose that brace. Like, guys, think about it. I turn around my spine angle and load pressure into that brace to be able to push off aggressively around the post. That's the efficiency in the golf swing that'll get you really to load and explode, okay? So when I do this, I'm keeping my hips square. I'm locking my pelvis into a position to where, man, I can really make that nice big turn. And from this perspective here, I'm doing so without moving my upper body as I do that, okay? If I can do that right there, I'm gonna set my body in a position to where I really open up that turn. Now, what I want you all to understand about the pressure shift, I'm really careful with that word, weight transfer. Like, what do you hear weight transfer, what do you think? Like, I'm gonna go over there, and I'm gonna go over there. No, you guys, listen, we're building a swing to the path of the least amount of manipulation. Not everybody can laterally move as hard as Scotty Scheffler and still rotate, okay? Most people who move side to side, every inch they go this way, they negate 10 degrees that way. Every inch they go that way, they negate 10 degrees that way. We need you to open up to hit that golf ball. We just want to make sure that this lateral movement, which gets you going from outside of your foot to outside of your foot, you know what happens if you're doing that too much? Well, think about it. If I go this way and my turn gets cut short, what gets my club to the top? My arms and hands. Now, if I'm going back too much this way, I'm facing the ball for too long. What's going to get the club back to the target? My arms and hands. But if I have that pure rotation in the connection, that's what squares up the face and gives me the consistency I'm looking for. So, the weight transfer. This is Todd Sohn's 101 right here. He was the best at teaching me this. When I turn my upper body on top of the inside of my foot, my upper body is being supported by the inside of my right leg. That's what loads the pressure there. And then guess what? Guess why it goes back? I start rotating, and the more I rotate, well, it gets back to the lead leg. So it's not happening from me taking my lower body and going side to side. Now, where some instructors will go, well, no, you need to, everybody bumps their hips that way. No, like they have to bump their hips and they have to teach that because they didn't set the person up correctly in the first place. Person's over here and they got to get posted back up here with their lead leg over that left foot. So what do they got to teach now? Oh, bump. Horrible move. Devastating move to the golf swing. Here's the move. And when you load it properly, guess what? Not one of my young players, and you've seen all my young players, all my guys' swings, they're pure. They all hit all the checkpoints. We never taught them how to move their hips that way. They're just loaded in the proper spot that when they unwind, everything gets to the right spot naturally because you set yourself up correctly and then turn correctly to the top. So the weight transfer happens because the upper body is turning on top of the lower body. From instep to instep, ready? From instep to instep. That's why Jack Nicklaus had his hair held by Jack Grout. That was a pretty efficient move. To give you guys an idea about that, by the way, that move? We always talk about it. Bryson hits it far. If Jack had today's equipment, there's our longest hitter right there. It was a beast, you guys, a beast. To hit the ball as far as he did, hey, if my head's staying still, that weight's still transferring. That's happening through rotation and setting up. And if people had to ask me, like, how would I define the golf swing into one sentence? I would say connection and leverage around fixed points. That's the golf swing. That's all we're going to have you guys understand. So watch me, guys, real quick. You guys will see it. I'll just kind of get a little angle here. Ready? Not natural at first. Oh, there it is. And once I get that look, watch how that right leg stays there. And see where the bottom of my swing is? Right in front of the golf ball? A big part of that is because of how I'm presetting myself there and not over here hitting it back this way, okay? So that's the start of it right there. That's our ability to make a good turn. It's from the face-on view that's visible. What's our checkpoint? Yes, we're doing it. We're talking about it again. That's our checkpoint. What's our drill? Here's our drill, okay? That's a great one right there. We're all gonna get you to learn how to do that.
Here we are at the beautiful Fairmont Grand Del Mar and the Grand Golf Club, the home of Porzak Golf, where golf is not just considered a sport, it's a lifestyle. The Porzak Golf membership will take you on an immersive journey that blends performance, lifestyle, and the spirit of the game like never before. This membership is geared towards helping you play the best golf of your life and enjoy the greatest game ever played. For more information on what your membership includes, click the link below.